Hi, I'm Brian with Kugel Memorabilia. Today I want to show you a prototype that I'm working on and sort of the production process that goes along with it. We've got a laptop CD-ROM drive here that I've cut up, framed in this walnut. It's about 5 inches square. Makes super cool desk art. That's what I'm into right now. This is part of my modern art collection. And so you can see the back of it here. Looks all mechanical and crazy. The front of it's got the CD in it, all offset. So we'll start with the production process. It starts off in my shop here with about 2,000 board feet of lumber I get from a local sawmill. It's actually a farmer who has his own mill. Super cool. So once I get that, I bring it here back to my radial arm saw. Got about 10-foot board here, rough sawn. We'll cut it up, we'll cut the knots out of it, start selecting the size of the piece that I want to work with. Then I'll bring it over to the table saw here. On the table saw, I'll shorten it up into something a little bit more workable. Generally, I know the size of the piece I want to work with, so I'll cut it up to make it more easy to handle. And then from there, we'll bring it over to the joiner. On the joiner here, smooth off one face of it, get it ready for my planer. So we'll bring it over to the planer. You can see I've got some walnut there that's cut up, ready to run through the planer. Once we run it through the planer, it smooths the top side of it, so both sides are smooth. You can see a bunch of hard maple and walnut from this farmer that I've gotten and milled up, ready for some projects. So to recap, you start off with a rough sawn piece of wood. You can hardly even see the grain. So that's kind of cool. You start milling a piece of wood and you don't even know what you're going to get until you start cutting it up. Here you can see the edge was cut with a table saw, ready for the joiner. Once we run it through the joiner, you get this side here. You get it real nice and smooth. And that prepares it so that you can run it through the planer. Once you run it through the planer, you see a totally smooth piece of wood. So if you go to your local, hardware store or whatever where you buy your wood, they've done all of those processes for you. But that'd be kind of like somebody throwing a bunch of paint on a canvas for an artist before he even started. So I start straight from the mill, as close as I can get to the tree. And it's all local to Winona, so that's super cool too. And then we'll dimension it. So this happens to be a 1-inch by 3/4 inch piece. That's what this frame's made out of. You can already see the grain here. Now I can pick, I only need a couple sections, so I can pick exactly what grain I'm going to use. And that's kind of what I'm all about, is picking out the grain. So then we'll cut up some mitered edges here. You got the mitered corners, that's how this frame's put together. And then of course we have to create the ROM drive part of it. So it starts off with the ROM drive like this. You can see it's, well, bigger than the frame. So I use a cutoff tool, some screwdrivers, I get creative with it. You can see that I cut this much of the tray off, so the CD is actually kind of set up in the corner, which I think is kind of cool. You can see here's a chunk of the CD. So I cut that off, I've got a rail, some metal pieces here. Quite a bit of work goes into shaping that the way it is. This happens to just be a prototype, so it's not even sanded. But once I sand it through about 5 different grits of sandpaper, then it'll go through my finishing booth, and then it'll actually be a piece that I throw up on my site and sell to you guys. But I figured I'd run you through the production process, so there it is. I'm Brian with Kugel Memorabilia.